All right. I think we can kick things off. Well, hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us. And yeah, I'm Dimitri. This is Mark. Maybe give a little intro.
Jim, everyone. Thanks for waking this early. I'm Mark, one of the directors at the Pyth Data Association. We're contributing to the Pyth network. I'm the smooth brain of the team, so I'm not technical and just do things.
Hi, guys. I'm Dimitri on the investment team at CoinFund, helping run our liquid strategies. And yeah, excited to chat about Pyth and its progressions and kind of how you guys have been doing over the last couple of years and the roadmap going forward. So yeah, maybe we can kick things off. Like, it's obviously you guys have made a big splash over the last couple of years. Would love to kind of hear like what the big milestones for you have been in terms of like the product and what you're most excited about going forward.
Yeah, definitely. So just a little throwback. Pyth started natively on Solana in 21, then went on mainnet during the summer of 21. And I mean, now we have the Oracle that runs on a Solana fork called PythNet with 100 validators. So quite different from where we started. And now the Pyth price feeds are available on 110 blockchains. 90% of those are EVMs, but also, of course, Solana, bunch of other SVM, Eclipse, etc. So very much from the, let's say, day one, where it was kind of a proof of concept natively done on Solana, like we wanted the Oracle to be as transparent as possible, kind of driven into, all right, let's, like, this data is valuable. It can be used on so many blockchains. So let's kind of redo the protocol so that we can have the most scalable distribution possible. So over 100 chain, about 1.5K price feeds. So quite some more than day one. And I mean, one of the things that get me most excited recently is we start seeing more and more like trading or like TradFi assets being used on chain. So Pythwise, one of the recent things we've been focusing on is like adding as many price feeds for like real stocks. So we have the whole like top 600 US stocks price feeds. Hopefully during May, we'll be able to release the whole Hong Kong and UK stock. So little by little, kind of taking on Bloomberg, I guess.
That's awesome. Like, obviously that's a kind of slightly alternative, like not non-crypto use case. What are some of the other kind of novel use cases that you've seen people use Pyth for? And how do you think that sets you guys apart from, other Oracle competitors?
So one case that was expected, but really kind of happened end of last year, or like with AI picking up on like on-chain AI, was like using Pyth data. I mean, mostly for like ML and stuff like this, trading strategy, etc. So like, and this arguably, I should have thought about it sooner to like focus on this like sales funnel. And why Pyth, let's say, is great for AI and if you do trading stuff is like Pyth data, like it works as an on-demand oracle. And without going into the technicalities, it means that we need to provide you an endpoint whereby you can constantly read the prices for free, grab the proof, and then send it on chain. But for AI, you can remove the on-chain part. And so pretty much you have in the docs of Pyth, you have a free consumable API that streams you 1,500 price feeds every 400 milliseconds. So whether you trade meme coins, stocks, gold, we even have the T-bills, like the whole US yield curve, like anyone can consume this data for free of chain. And it only happened, let's say, 6 months ago where we saw like the Coinbase agent kit, all these ANON on Sonic, all these DeFi, crypto, AI, machine learning stuff, like very much using Pyth for this, and no other Oracle kind of have this design of a free API endpoint where you can consume data off chain.
When you think about, I guess, it makes me think, you talk about sort of offering products for free. I also understand you guys have been thinking about monetization approaches and kind of charging people for certain other things. So can you perhaps like run us through like, what is the monetization strategy for you guys, and how has that evolved over time? It sounds like some products you're thinking probably to give out for free, some probably more sophisticated ones to charge for. I'm very curious to hear about that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's been 4 years already, so you kind of have to get on the more traditional business, I guess, of balancing expenses and revenues. I mean, day one, it was all expenses, and it was heavy expenses, because when we had the Oracle natively on Solana, you could imagine all publishers sending Solana transaction, and they were spamming. Back then, I think we were doing, or Pyth publisher were doing like 2/3 of Solana transactions if you remove the the voting. And when Solana was at $8, that's fine. When Solana is at $200, that's less fine. Hence our app chain. But no, so revenue, I've been spending my past week purely within the DAO, writing on like path to start charging fees on Pyth users. So Pyth as an on-demand or pull Oracle, you can imagine that like the network has zero infra cost. The Oracle doesn't push price update on chain. It's up to anyone that can permissionlessly trigger price update. So this user has to pay the gas cost. And for now, it was just gas cost. So you can imagine that the Pyth revenue, easy math, is if there is 1 million price update triggered on chain, there is 1 million revenue generation event. Till now, it was 0 charged. But we're ramping this up, I mean, through the DAO. So everything's decided by the elected council of the Pyth DAO. And overall, we kind of have to find, and it's pretty funny, but we have to find a balance between like what's a reasonable cost, because arguably no other Oracle has this on-chain permissionlessness type of design. So we have some chains. I mean, we've been testing some stuff pretty fun. So I think a year ago we deployed on OPBNB. It's like the second chain of Binance, because a perpetual product wanted to use Pyth there, and we're like, okay, let's just charge 10 cents per feed updated and see where it goes. And overall, users didn't complain, but being a derivatives, you make so much fees, you can sustain this cost. If you're ball lending, you have like, you make way less fees, let's say generally, so it's harder to like charge that much. But overall now, and you can go check forum.pyth.network, I have a long ass post where I go over 80 of our EVM deployments and I suggest fees. And it ranges from 0.5 cent to 1 cent. And then we have some chain where we still want to iterate, like Swirl chain, for example, 10 cents last week deployed.
So yeah, I'm curious. Like, it sounds like you're making a bet that sort of certain chains are going to be kind of driving high volume. Perhaps you charge them lower because you make up for it. Is that the right way to think about it?
Yeah, exactly. You have some chains, and it's crazy because I mean, through my recommendations on pricing, I show also the usage, etc. And you have some chains that trigger like on CoreDAO, CoLend, or ball lending transaction are so cheap there. I think they trigger 200K price updates per day. Same on like on more esoteric chains like Zeta Chain, Lightlink. Like Lightlink make the Pyth contract gasless. So pretty much you can spam it to death and get a new price update at every block. So yeah, we have to be mindful about this, and and we'll see how it evolves over the longer term, because we could have a better pricing, as in optimize revenue, because you can sell something. I mean, the bigger the app, the more you can charge them, arguably. While Pyth today is very much kind of one pricing, one design for all. So we'll see how it could evolve. But for now, we're happy with the current like design, and I guess next step is how do we use those fees? Right now, we don't focus on this at all. It's just let's start make some revenue on chain, and then we'll see what to do with it.
Do you have any thoughts on this, or
on what to do with it?
Yeah.
The one thing I will fight against is token buyback. I think it's pretty retarded. So Pyth works thanks to its publisher. Without publishers, I mean, Pyth wouldn't work. So I would kind of vouch for, and I'm throwing numbers here, I'd say half the revenue should go to publishers, I'd say. Then I would just, let's say for now, keep it within the DAO. we started having, like, with our councils, we started actually giving, I don't know if you call this stipend or, I mean, not salary, but some Pyth. So overall, just to make the DAO work, like operationally. Yeah, so 50% publishers, the rest after, yeah, it will likely go out as grants for engineering team working on shipping new stuff for Pyth, etc.
The comments you made earlier about sort of, thousands or hundreds, let's say, perhaps thousands of different chains. We obviously see a lot of discussions about cross-chain interoperability. You guys have clearly had one way of looking at it. I'm just curious, like, we've seen this meta or the narrative shift from, well, we've had all sorts of different narratives. There's been the app chain narrative. We've had sovereign chains. We've had people talking about base rollups. We have all sorts of different things. Now, increasingly, the move is to try and unite liquidity. What is your approach to cross-chain interoperability going forward? And let's assume we're in a world where we're going to continue to have more and more chains, more and more kind of perhaps app-specific use cases. What does that mean for Pyth? And also vis-a-vis your earlier comments on charging, do you then have to come up with a new pricing model for every chain? How do you think about that?
So arguably, the more chains, the better for Pyth, because it's just more user base, more usage, more sales funnel, let's say. Overall, we were, I don't know if we should say smart or lucky in how we designed our, like, protocol when we did our V2 2 years ago, when we exited, let's say, Solana native, but it's very scalable. We just need to deploy a smart contract. So if you're an EVM chain, it's pretty easy. Now it's true for Solana, for Cosmos, etc. So as long as these new chains don't come with esoteric languages, we should be fine. So overall, pure Pyth perspective, I think it's great for us. The more chains, the merrier. And we're super scalable. So we managed to be on chains like day one. And this is a great competitive advantage versus the competition. Will it last forever having a new chain every day? I don't know. For now, it does. And pricing, yes. So maybe we'll have to, I don't know, get some AI to automate the management of the fees per chain. So yeah, so we'll have to come up, and it's not that hard. If you start from a baseline of, okay, 1 cent per update, then you check like how much the regular transaction costs. Just you project yourself as the user. What would I do? But we'll see. While we start implementing these fees, we're also thinking on off-chain. Like I've mentioned, and it's great. I love it that all our data is permissionlessly available and freely usable off-chain. But having 600 US stocks price feeds, that's insanely valuable. So I guess the next big step is actually thinking how can the DAO start selling this data off-chain, whether it's licensing, whether sadly you have to gatekeep it a bit. We'll have to think about it. But yeah, next big stage is off-chain distribution.
That brings me probably to the last question, which is what are the big targets and milestones for you guys, rest of this year and going into next year? What are you most excited about? Are there any kind of specific KPIs you guys have in mind?
So in addition to price feeds, we've worked with Camino to launch Express Relay, like Camino Swap. So on Camino, you can now swap like limit orders, market orders. It's like a meta aggregator. Now they have like Jupiter, DFlow, another one I'm forgetting, and Express Relay. Pretty much Express Relay is like co-swap, pretty much on Solana, I'd say. It's pretty much searchers like Wintermute, and just user like putting like trade offers, trades, and getting filled or not by Wintermute and the like. I think it has done over 200 million since launching in volume since the launch end of last year. Goals to like couple billions by end of year. We need to step up the game there. And actually, why did we go there? Because there's just so much fees. There's so much improvement that can be done on the trading on Solana. And we have a great cohort of data publisher that you're like, okay, now we have this distribution funnel where, okay, you give us the data. What about start like fulfilling some trades? So yeah, so Express Relay, Camino Swap, couple billions by end of year. I don't want to say 10 billion because that might be too much, but go ham on Camino Finance and swap all your wealth.
NFA.
FA.
Cool.
You can do USDC, USDT.
Thanks for your time. I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank
really
you so
appreciate
much.
it.